Aloha, I'm Kaimana of Kanileʻa ʻUkulele, and today in this video we'll touch on what it means to have a UV cured finish and two major benefits. Then we'll dive into the differences between the three finishes that we offer, and finally we'll touch on the sound differences between those three finishes. First, before we dive in, I do want to debunk a myth really quick. We do not stain or alter the color of our koa or any other wood unless we specifically state it. So unless the instrument is stated as stained, there's no color alterations. You are looking at the true beauty, fine details of that piece of wood. So let's jump into what it means to have a UV cured finish. It means that the finish and the product that is on top of the raw wood is cured under ultraviolet light. We have basically a tanning booth for the instruments. Once the product is rubbed or sprayed, depending what station we're at, it will immediately go into the UV light box and cure in under 10 minutes. The two major benefits we get from this are less layers, which gives us a better result, and that it is environmentally friendly. There are no harmful compounds coming out of the instrument. Now, with a UV cured finish, we're able to have a lot less layers on the instrument. You know, typical lacquer finishes are anywhere from 12 to 15 layers, and they're just smothering the soundboard. With our UV finish, we're able to do it in 3 layers. Now, with the less layers, you have a bigger, more open sound, and actually the finish will expand and contract with the wood under any humidity changes. Now that allows it to breathe and move and flow, which in the long run, you won't see any cracking in the finish. If the wood expands, the finish won't crack on top of it. And now, it is extremely environmentally friendly. A lacquer finish is sprayed on and it cures overnight by evaporation. So that finish that's on top of it is just evaporating and drying as water would on the ground, and it all evaporates up into the atmosphere, you know, leaving those volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, and those are they're harmful for the atmosphere. And as a company who is heavily involved in reforestation and trying our best to be environmentally conscious, it's really a no-brainer. And those are major benefits of UV cured finishes as a whole. And now we can dive into and look at the differences between our UV high gloss finish, our UV natural finish, and our UV silk finish. So let's touch on our UV high gloss finish. It's exactly as it sounds. It is high gloss, super glossy, and super clear, which is one beautiful thing about it. You get to really see the fine details in the grain, the curl, and the color of the wood. It won't change color over time. You see a lot of vintage instruments that are amber or orange colored, and that's the finish that changed color, not the wood. With our UV gloss finish, you get a high gloss and crystal clear finish that brings out the luster in the koa. And one thing to note, when it comes to ordering a UV gloss finish, standard is going to come with the UV silk finish on the neck. And that's something we wanted to do for playability, but still offer the UV gloss on the body to really accentuate the body. And so that leads us right into the next finish, which is the UV silk finish. And next we have our silk finish, which is pretty simple. It's almost the same thing as the high gloss finish. It just doesn't go to the buffing machine. It's about 90% of the way, same materials, same process, same team working on it. It just doesn't get buffed, and we don't create that high gloss sheen. But what we get is a soft and silky feeling instrument. For those who have experienced it, you know how smooth it is. And for those that have gotten a kanileʻa in the past 2 years, you have felt it in the neck. And that's part of the reason why it's on the neck of all the gloss instruments, because your fingers don't get stuck on it. It's so smooth and it helps with the playability. And it is very different feeling, although it looks like the natural. It feels very different. So now I can explain a little bit about the natural finish ukuleles. Our third and final option is the UV natural finish, which is very different from the silk and the gloss finishes. It is still cured under UV light, but it's a little different material. It's a pour fill and a top coat all in one, and we're able to do it in just one coat. One coat of spray, and that's what you get. Now, it's still very protective. It'll protect the instrument for years to come, but what you get is a natural feel, a natural look. It's as close to the wood as you'll get it straight from the forest. What we're creating is a very breathable and open instrument. There's a lot of room for vibration and not much hindering the sound or hindering the wood from vibrating. And that leads us perfectly into the differences between the sound of the UV natural, the UV silk, and the UV high gloss finishes. So now let's compare the sound differences between our finishes. When we look at the difference in sound, really, we're only comparing two different sounds, because the gloss and the silk are pretty much the same materials that are on the wood. They're gonna sound pretty similar. The major difference is with our natural finish. The natural finish is loud, it's proud, it resonates and it sustains very well because there are less restrictions on the wood. It just gives you everything that it has to offer all at once. The silk and the gloss finishes are slightly more accurate. And I know that's hard to understand, but when I try to explain it by accurate, I mean, because there is a slight restriction, you can choose to either push out or hold back on certain chords and certain melodies, giving you a range that you can play with. And they are slightly sweeter because they're not as boom and boisterous. They give you a nice sweet tone to the wood or whatever woods you're putting that finish on. Now we can give you slight sound samples here with a little chords, and you can hear the same chords across the different finishes. And in reality, you should just get all three so you don't have to worry about the differences. You can just have one of each. But let's take a look at the sound differences between the three finishes. So today we touched on what it means to have a UV cured finish and the benefits to that. We shared the subtle differences between the natural, the silk, and the gloss finish. And we gave you some sound samples so you can hear firsthand kind of the differences between the sound. So thank you for joining us today. I hope you learned a lot. If you have any more questions, give us a call, send us an email. And please follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos like this so that you can learn more about who we are and what we do. So thank you again, aloha and mahalo.